Germany's invasion of France and the Low Countries in May 1940 was one of the most spectacular and devastating campaigns in the history of land warfare. In just 6 weeks, Belgium and Holland were overrun, and France was forced to surrender. Poland, Norway, and Denmark had already been crushed. Hitler was now master over almost all of Northern Europe. But Britain still held out against him, largely because of a major blunder by Hitler. Before the end of May 1940, the Germans had trapped soldiers from the British Expeditionary Force in a pocket around the French port of Dunkirk. But Hitler did not send ground troops to destroy them. The reason was Hermann Goering. As head of the Luftwaffe, Goering was eager to claim the glory of defeating the British. He persuaded Hitler to allow his air force to destroy the Dunkirk pocket. But both men failed to appreciate that air power alone could not defeat armies. Offensive action by ground forces was also required. As a result, most of the British force escaped across the English Channel. Britain continued to resist Hitler, ultimately leading to the defeat of Nazi Germany. When Hitler invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, Britain and France, which had promised to assist the Poles, declared war on Germany. But the British could offer no support until their troops had been deployed in France. The French strategy was strictly defensive, based on the frontier fortifications of the Maginot Line. They were not ready to advance into Germany beyond the range of the Maginot guns. After 5 weeks of fighting, with no help from their allies, the Poles were forced to surrender. Because Britain and France had supported Poland, Hitler wanted to turn on them immediately. But his generals pleaded for more time to prepare. On paper, at least, both countries were more formidable than Poland. In spite of Hitler's impatience, Germany's invasion plans were delayed by the onset of winter. There were also fears that Germany's plans may have been leaked after a plane carrying a Luftwaffe officer crash-landed in Belgium. The Germans needed time to develop a new plan. This period of waiting became known as the Phony War. It allowed the Allies, especially Britain, to strengthen defenses in France. The British Expeditionary Force increased its 4 divisions to 13 by the end of April 1940. But Germany also took advantage of the stalemate by increasing its forces and developing a new plan to quickly defeat the Allies by splitting their forces. Army Group C would cover the Maginot Line defenses, and Army Group B would overrun Holland and most of Belgium. Army Group A, equipped with the bulk of the German heavy armor, would push through France's heavily wooded Ardennes. Then they would race to the English Channel, cutting off the northern Allied forces. Hermann Goering's Luftwaffe would merely help ground forces destroy Allied air power and attack their communications. Northern France had no natural defenses, so the Allies decided to move their northern armies, composed of the best French formations and the British Expeditionary Force, into Belgium as soon as the Germans attacked. The Allied forces would move to the River Dyle. They didn't realize that this would help the Germans cut them off. But the German attack in the west was delayed. Hitler was concerned that the Allies were about to land in neutral Norway. So in early April, German forces launched an invasion there. France and Britain sent forces to Norway too, but they could not prevent the Germans from overrunning the country. On May 10, 1940, Germany's long-awaited invasion of France and the Low Countries began. The Northern Allied forces immediately crossed the border into Belgium. The Allies were confident that they could stop the German juggernaut. But they were about to be taken by surprise and forced to retreat. In May of 1940, a German invasion swept through much of Holland in just 5 days. In central Belgium, the Germans wasted no time in crossing the canals guarding the eastern border. German glider troops quickly overran the modern frontier fortress of Eben-Emael. The Belgians thought it was an impregnable key to their defenses. The Belgian forces were driven westward toward the British and French defenses on the Dial River line. But the Germans made their most spectacular advance in the Ardennes. The Allies did not think the Germans would seriously contemplate a major thrust through the densely wooded hills of Ardennes. So they deployed only light screening forces, which the German panzers quickly brushed aside. In less than 3 days, the Germans reached the primary French defenses on the River Meuse. They bombarded the French defenses.